I was like, what are you referencing?
One of y'all say Scooby Snacks? I really like the skiing one. Because, like, he doesn't even laugh. He's just like, oh, it's actually great. I'm going to send that one to my dad. Tell you that, boys. Cornbread ain't cooked all the way through the middle.
What does that even mean? Like, you don't have your head all there?
It just means, like, they're not a sensible person adjacent to, like, that boy's cheese slid off his cracker.
Is that a saying?
That's another one, yeah.
The one I was thinking of was, like, they got a screw loose.
Well, that's another one. I mean, I don't know if that one's Southern, but...
It's definitely not food related.
Yeah. I think my favorite one of that channel is the dude talking about, like, if you go to the city, take a gun. And then he just, like, goes on a completely unrelated tangent. He's like, I know a fella who blew his butt cheeks clean off. Ain't sat in 25 years.
The one where the old lady is sitting, listening to country music, and just truck, trucky truck, truck, trucky truck, truck.
We're talking about this channel on YouTube that does, like, Adult Swim-esque animations called Little Bubby Child. I don't know if what that's from or anything, but that, and there's another one called Joe Cappa, who effectively their content is the same, just like one's based in the South and one seems like they're like Orange County, California.
Yeah.
Not that they need a call out, but you know, give them some love. They're a lot of fun.
They're gonna go online tomorrow after this gets posted, be like, dude, the What We Usually Do podcast is shouting us out.
We made it.
Yeah, that's a real sign of power. We have influence.
And once again, I have not come prepared with any topics.
Well, that was kind of a topic. Well, I'm sure I have things, but they're in my phone that I did not check before this.
Well, you wrote them. Think of them coincidentally again.
Okay. If you could be any animal in the world.
Gorilla. I know we already talked about this.
I'll be an elephant. All right, next topic.
Fuck it. Shit. What the
Talk
fuck?
about shit?
I went up a ramp and then hit a bullet bill, and it took me off the ramp back around to the main track. It seemed like it was just wasted time.
Man, if only we were recording the gameplay, it'd be awesome.
It's not what we usually do.
Yeah.
We got the audio.
Yeah.
Just take my word for it.
You can hear in the background noise of the game that's exactly what happened. If there's a Mario Kart Wii expert out there, expert in sound design and avid player of Mario Kart Wii,
they
would know.
They could deduce the bullet bill sound.
Okay, one of them you can talk about because you already told me about it. Was ideas for video games.
Oh yeah,
you told me a couple of them before, so we can talk about those for this race.
So I actually have like 2.5/3 because one came to me in a dream.
Oh.
I had this idea for like a Halo DLC just because it's been kind of like a topic for us lately, playing through Reach and whatnot.
Yeah.
But
watch out videos on Halo Reach on my channel. YouTube.com/@SkyCradlo.
It's you plugging yourself in on the channel that you're gonna find.
Yeah. Well, if you're listening on Spotify, then they won't know.
Well, watch out for our Spotify too.
Yeah, Sam.
One viewer.
By the way, I did talk to my brother. He said he'd be down to come on the podcast at some point.
Hell yeah. My first dumb video game idea is a DLC for Halo Infinite that is like a mini campaign that is effectively just the early years of Master Chief's life, like before he becomes like a full-fledged Spartan and before like the first installation and just when he's like a cadet. And basically you go through the entire mini campaign as like him over the years up until he kind of graduates to like Spartan status. And a recurring theme that I thought would be pretty neat would be, because nobody knows really what he looks like, we would just get kind of vague hints at that, like maybe you see his shadow intermittently, and then like there would be a recurring theme of reflections everywhere, like you might get little glimpses but you can never totally see what he really looks like. And
yeah, kind of teasing you because you want to see his image.
Yes. And at the very end I imagined some kind of a like an epilogue where, similar to that one Modern Warfare 2 stage I'm thinking of, maybe it's the Zombies one, that it's like just a weapon room that you kind of walk through and there's not much to do except look around.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Is that from Modern Warfare 2 or am I confusing them?
Yeah, that is the epilogue level where it's a little museum.
Yes.
You can go around and you can activate a thing where you have to fight the enemies that are in the museum installations.
That's I mean, I imagine something kind of reminiscent to that, but just with like a kind of a hall of armor, or I guess a hall of like UNSC stuff, like little Easter eggs. And then at the very end, if you approach like the final end of the hall, you would see this darkly or poorly lit case of his armor, and then you would see the most of what you could make of his reflection before the lights come on and you're standing where the suit would be in your reflection. When I talk about it this much, it really sounds stupid, but like
I still like it.
I think it would definitely be like a fun kind of like nod to the game as a whole, even if it didn't add much. I think it would probably just be a nice little treat for the OG fans. The second game idea that I had is completely unrelated. I imagined maybe I took inspiration from like mascot horror or something when I had the dream, because it was like really abstract and out there, but it was still a game that was effectively like I don't know what the genre is. You have like a continuous like whatever the balloon shooter or whatever the thing is, where tower defense is called a tower defense title, where you you can't stop moving your trajectory. And like there's like towers, or I guess some kind of like an enemy that is stationary but attacks you as you go, and you have to continually advance.
Okay.
Or sometimes the roles are reversed and you're the stationary tower and they're an encroaching enemy.
Balloon's tower defense
was
the one where you are the towers.
Yes.
And the balloons are coming at you.
In my idea, I think it's similar. I just know like the mechanics. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but essentially I took inspiration from that as like the style of gameplay, with like the theme being mascot horror. It's also in first person. I'm having a hard time articulating like how I would pitch this to somebody, because
I know
there's
it's gonna be a nightmare
details.
for me to edit.
Fucking okay, I guess let me just start from scratch. So there are these like inflatable two-man looking things that act as a horde, and that's like the moving antagonist that you defend your quote-unquote towers from. It's just sort of a cartoony / like uncanny feeling, where they're effectively zombies. They convert your towers to them, and your role is to run around and switch them back.
Okay.
And the towers are these blue, I guess they're kind of like a cow creature that makes weird, goofy noises for no apparent reason, and like they are converted and consumed by the weird yellow inflatable creatures. And that's the whole game, is like, you know, if you can like survive the entire round, then you win the level, but you know, if all of them get converted, then you lose.
Okay. So you're not thinking like something that's story driven, you're just like purely situational fear of that.
Situational like it's not a story driven title, but it does have its own lore. And in my head at the time it made sense, but I'm sure this sounds totally understandable and comprehensible the way I'm describing it.
Like a FNAF style lore that you have to uncover.
Kind of like FNAF. I imagined it in sort of a retro style. I guess it was kind of like subconsciously driven from the Rainbow Friends Roblox title.
What is that?
I'm just being... So I think I described this to you. It's just another generic kind of like Garden of Banban style mascot horror thing, where kids TV show in an abandoned studio called Rainbow Friends, and like there's different colored monsters that do different things, and it's basically the whole game is hide and seek.
Okay.
I guess that's where I kind of got it from. It's really generic, but I'm being honest. It would be weird if I was to like try to change it to sound better.
Yeah. Figure it out right now.
Yeah.
I mean, also when you're making a game, a lot's gonna change about it during the process.
Yeah. I don't even understand like the appeal of the idea, but it just seemed like weird that I had an entire idea for a game in a dream.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm like a modern day Beethoven of game development or anything. I'm just saying
Beethoven would have loved FNAF.
Except he wouldn't have been able to appreciate any of the sound design. I did have some creepy ass sounds in my. I wouldn't be able to describe them.
Recreate them with your mouth right now.
It was just like whispering and generic kind of like animal noises.
What about my human eating peach sound effect that I put in the Halo video?
It was equally as unsettling as that. I didn't think you were gonna like morph my face. I just thought you were gonna like change the hue, but I was not expecting to get jump scared by myself.
Well, that PNG is in the thumbnail as well.
Yeah.
Did you not see it there, or were you not expecting it then?
It was too small when I clicked on it.
Oh, gotcha. I was editing that thumbnail with that image like just on the background for a second while I was at my parents', and my parents were like, "Oh, what you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, just finishing a video while I got like this creepy ass picture of you." And
I couldn't even really tell it was me. I mean, from the thumbnail, I knew it kind of looked like me, but I had no idea what I was looking at.
I have some ideas written down in my phone, but these aren't really ideas for full games. They're more mechanic ideas, so like the story isn't there yet. I'll just go down the list. The first one is the main character has a medical condition where they can't regenerate blood, or maybe just not that fast. Bleeding reduces maximum health. You get attacked and you get hurt, and then as you bleed, the bleeding lowers your maximum health to where you can't even heal up to that point anymore.
Yeah.
So you're just down to that point.
That's an interesting concept. It basically sounds like a hardcore Minecraft hardcore mode, or like when Halo's on Legendary, you're weak as fuck.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's an interesting challenge. I like it.
Next one was only one playthrough of the game, and then it can't be replayed anymore on the system. I guess that's kind of like Doki Doki Literature Club. Could have the player on a timer or only have one life or something like that. Either way, the life is a limited resource that once run out, the game is done completely. So I guess with this idea, it was even further past that to where if you lose, that's the complete end. Even if you reinstall, it's just done.
To work effectively, it would have to be like a game that actually involves gameplay.
Because it would have to be like a challenge that you know going into is like, okay, this is going to be difficult, I have to put myself in it.
Yeah. You can play while you're reading.
I can try. Oh, this isn't working well. Limited time for multiple characters. Like, you play as multiple characters back and forth. Oh, I had a reference for this. Like, a game that kind of did this idea that I would want to add upon. It's called Input 6. Input 6, you can play as several characters. You're kind of going through a facility. I don't quite remember the game super well because it's been a while since I played it. But you play as multiple characters, and I believe there was a time limit where you have to try to solve a mystery, and there's like monsters chasing you throughout a facility.
Yeah.
And the characters are dispensable. Like, you can die with them. So I guess I would just want to do an extension of that concept with like a different idea. You have several characters that you can play as. They're dispensable, and you're just very limited on time and ability, but you have to avoid some sort of obstacle.
Right. There's a game that I was just going to talk about that actually does a very interesting similar concept. Well, I mean, I'm sure you've heard of like the Hitman titles.
Yeah.
So like, because the old games were more or less action style with like a central focus on stealth, because you have your target and you go through, various environments, hunting them down however you can, you take them out. But the new games, like Hitman 2 and then I think Absolution and whatever the last one to come out was, the new games are actually kind of interesting. Like, at some point we should just play it on our own, or because I have a few of them.
Okay.
So you can see them, or if you do a playthrough, they're a hard game to like do a whole playthrough through, because the way the new ones are laid out is there's so much pre-planning for each level you go through, because you have to kind of understand a little bit of the context about your target. Sometimes there's multiple targets, and you only get like a select amount of equipment, and like you can pick one sort of disguise to go in. But at a certain point, you're kind of going in blind, because you only know about your targets and a little bit about the area, but not much other than that. And even though it's hard to fail, because you could just technically walk in and shoot your target, like the point of the game is to do it as effectively as possible with killing as few people as possible, other than your target. So like, it's a really fun concept because you can get kind of set up and you can kind of give yourself a head start, but at a certain point things can go south at any minute, and you have to be able to react quickly and like make up for it, in case there was like security that you didn't know was there. You have to like, take one of them out, or at least subdue one of them in time to like, make sure the cameras aren't recording, because if you get caught, it's over.
You just have to restart.
Yes.
Or at least go back to a save.
Or, you get docked points, and, you kind of don't win that way. And I can remember playing a few levels myself and thinking, like, fucking, this is going to take forever. I have to have a whole day to get through all of these, because if it doesn't go exactly how you want it to, it's like you kind of lose. It's a very completionist type of game.
Does it feel really good when you actually beat it?
It really does feel good. It's like there's generally a main way to do it for each, like to maximize the amount of credit you get for your playstyle, and to find that out, you have to kind of play your cards very carefully. Like, there's one, for example, that your target is a race car driver. The most logical way is like, get them to make it look like an accident.
Yeah.
But the way to do that, you have to literally go through like every hurdle the game can possibly set up for you.
Because that's like the best way to do it, right?
Yes. Because it's like a Daytona 500 thing. Like, when you show up, you can show up like say, in a security van and pretend to be security, and there's one way to do it, but if you get seen by the wrong people, you're fucked. And there's other ways to do it. You can pretend like you're part of the pit crew, but you have to know what you're doing and where to be at the right time. You can be a civilian, but they search you at the door, so you can only take a certain equipment with you. So you have to improvise sometimes, but it's just really fun to see all the different ways you could do it, which makes me sound like a psychopath. But to get that,
That's for the right reasons,
to get that
right?
main victory.
He's like a good guy.
The hit Agent 47, there's some interesting lore behind him, because he's one of those, I don't think they really knew what they wanted to do with him in the first game, like whether you were a good guy or a bad guy. Like, the lore is, he's basically the John Wick of his universe, and he's a clone. He's like an imperfect clone of 5 different criminals. So he's got like a criminal mind. He himself is a cold, emotionless psychopath, even if the organization he works for is, they're for a good cause. Or at least they're trying to... Because basically the whole game is like, kill the rich, and kill the elites of the world.
And he is just working because that's his purpose, right?
Yes, that he was literally engineered to do what he does.
Okay.
He's got the voice actor, I think, has been the same through the entire series. He's got a fucking amazing voice. Like, it's up there with Master Chief in its own way.
I remember watching the Hitman Agent 47 movie and be like, this is okay.
I'm sure there's some actual fans. Me personally, I don't have enough credit to say whether or not that's a good take, but Halo I do. Put me saying spoiler alert.
What do you mean? Halo series is great.
Dude, I saw more Master Chief ass than I ever would have asked for in my entire life.
Is there more than just the one scene?
Yes. I mean, spoiler alert, you didn't hear any of that. Censor all that.
I'm not going to. People need to know.
Leave it all in?
They need incentive to go watch the show because there's no other reason to go watch the show.
Put me saying spoiler alert in front of it then.
Okay.
I don't want to ruin anyone's fun.
Yeah. You don't want to kind of know what you're getting into. You want to be surprised by the ass.
I don't know how much Agent 47 ass there is in the Hitman movie.
I don't think there was any ass.
But also, that's like a simpler concept than Halo. I'm sure it's easier to get right.
Took it from a B to a C.
Not enough Hitman ass.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a perfect ass. It's the ass of 5 different criminals around the whole world.
I emailed my local Netflix provider, The Office.
The local one, as in the only one?
And told them, more ass, please.
Netflix works like radio.
No subject. No sign-off.
Can you imagine if we did live in a Fallout universe where we only had radio? The concept of visual media was never explored beyond fucking, I don't know, news. The Halo radio series is all that we have.
Have you played a lot of the Fallout games?
I've played 4 and New Vegas.
I played 4, 3, New Vegas. Those games seem like a way to realize that you can't just appreciate what you have. We think now about we would do without modern entertainment, but then when I play those games and if I get immersed into the world where I don't really want fast travel, I'm just kind of walking around everything, enjoying the environment, the world building of it. I find myself just listening to the radio and really enjoying it. I feel like I don't need anything else. I don't need even though the game is the entertainment.
No, are you talking about strictly in the sense of Fallout, in the game, or are you talking about in real life?
I guess Fallout was an analog for real life because that's a place I feel it.
Okay.
And that was related to what you were talking about. But I get that in real life too. Say if the power goes out.
Oh.
And we don't have TV or video games or anything like that, and we don't have Wi-Fi to watch anything online. I can just put on a CD, listen to some music. I can watch an old DVD on my laptop that still has a DVD player in it.
Yeah.
And I'm happy because that's what I have, and I'm just okay, it's not getting better than this, and I can just sit and okay, I enjoy this.
Well, that speaks more about the time we live in, because we have the culmination of all of these technologies at our disposal. So there's many different levels of ways to I guess get by without having to worry about hitting rock bottom.
Yeah.
Even if we didn't have power, you still have radio powered CD players or radio. We at least have shelter and everything. There's still parts of the world that don't have that, and especially in even recent history, there weren't all those layers in place to protect us.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even if my computer wasn't charged and I didn't have a way to play DVDs or anything, I just the lowest form we have, the simplest is just I pick up a book,
and
I read that, and
you could also even if you didn't have a book, you could just do nothing.
Yeah, I just sit and look out the window.
That seems horrible, I'm not gonna lie, but
What, just sitting looking out the window?
well,
You wouldn't do that?
say if there was like, something to look at, like
You find something to look at. At least I do.
well, like I've had this recurring thing of I take pictures of deer all the time. I have pictures of deer going back to like August of 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. So you would need a new subject of something other than the hill that we usually have to look at.
Well, like I'd be also okay with looking at that, but comparatively to like reading a book, it seems like there's a pretty big drop. We've been a little like spoiled. It's
I can sit in my head for a bit. I can just kind of like think and stare at something as just like a placeholder for letting my imagination run.
I could, but it would have to be a choice. Like I'd have to do it of my own volition. I could, if I was made to do it, it would be a lot harder to go through.
You can't be forced into it by your situation.
No.
Does something have to like spark the desire to want to do that?
Well, to be honest, I do that sometimes anyway. Like I'm okay with just like laying in bed, looking up at the ceiling, or just sitting there in my head. But like, I mean, if I was forced to do that, it would almost be involuntary like isolation. I mean, it definitely wouldn't be as healthy as like reading a book or finding a new activity. Not saying that like life requires activity. I'm just saying like we take for granted. I guess this is kind of what you're saying anyway. We take for granted like the things we have because of how difficult it would be to get by without them, and like the many different like levels. Because I would be burning through them before I would immediately turn to that.
Okay, I gotcha. I think you're a bitch for it, but I gotcha.
I think there are a lot of people that probably agree with me. Not that I'm helpless without them. I'm just saying like I would fucking be deeply uncomfortable if like my only choice, especially like right now and it's like night, my only choice was that. Or if it was like just fucking like white out and I couldn't see shit, I would find something else to do to not confront the scenario. Oh, I didn't send you the Jesus is in control Joe Cappa video.
Is everything that he makes like he voices himself?
Yeah. I think every voice is him.
Okay. It sounds like it.
Yeah.
Because initially, when you sent me those videos, I was thinking that they were animations with the audio from something else. I was like, what the fuck did they get for this? Like, where did they source for this?
I think he's doing like Microsoft Paint frame by frame.
And a lot of times you don't see everything moving. You just see like just the mouth move,
just
or just the nose move.
Necessary to move, but it's kind of lifelike in a weird way.
I think the story really emulates life that it portrays.
You know that thing where like they say a lot of artists, especially that make like animated characters or I guess more caricature style, the general idea is that all of the characters kind of look like them in some weird way.
Yeah.
Do you think that's like the case for that dude?
He's just buff as hell with a small face.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably to like at least an extent.
I would like to see what the Joe Cappa looks like IRL.
Fully animated.
And for that matter, little Bubby Child.
Yeah.
I feel like I can better sound like or am more comparable to the Joe Cappa voice than anyone else. Or I guess just the only other person.
The only other person that we were talking about?
Yeah. Like, not that I talk like that all the time, but like, dude, if I wanted to, I could.
I think that's a pretty easy like American voice to get into.
Yeah, it's like a newer dialect. I think people like invented that in the 90s. It didn't just happen.
Yeah, I doubt that that's been around for a while. I like hearing people from like the 20s and 30s speak, and it's like, wow, that's like really different from how this is.
Yeah. They all sound like they're talking out of the side of their mouth. Like, you literally can't do the voice without kind of talking out the side of your mouth. And it's like, how much effort do you have to go through to do that? Everyone was a stroke survivor back then. There is an official term for the way that people used to talk. It's called the transatlantic accent.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about that before.
It's kind of this weird self-fulfilling cycle of people didn't actually talk like that in the 20s. They talked like normally, like how we do today. But in movies, for some reason, like they invented this weird kind of halfway formal British and then like halfway normal American accent, and then tried to like combine the two, and it turned into that. But people didn't start talking like that until after those movies had been around for a while, and then they started picking it up from movies. It kind of invented itself, but then it died out just as quickly because it's like, we don't really talk like that. And I don't think most millennials do.
I don't think most anybody talks like that anymore. I would be curious if there's like a sect of people
that haven't seen the outside world.
Since that time period, at
Since
least.
that time period. If like trends in like dialect can pop into existence, like how many times has that happened?
Probably every time.
Through every century, or like what's the next one gonna be?
Let's invent it right now. Everyone's gonna talk in an uwu voice in the 22nd century.
The generation after ours is kind of doing this weird sort of, I guess it's maybe an extension of kind of how Joe Cappa talks, but it's just like, it's what it is. It's like, just very low effort.
Every once in a while, I'll get a TikTok on my feed. I don't know if it's several people that do this or just this one person, but she plays Valorant. I don't know if the main draw of her is that she has two voices that she kind of does. Her normal voice is just like a kind of a suave, feminine voice.
Yeah.
She was asking her team, do you think people would like me more if I talked in an uwu voice? And some guy was like, what? Do it. I want to hear it. And she started talking that uwu voice. I cannot replicate it because my voice does not go that high. And then everybody was like, please stop that. Go away. We don't like you anymore. So maybe that's not what the voices of the future will be like, because people don't seem to like it.
It's another one of those high-effort voices.
Yeah. Won't last that long.
It's weird that she could just, like, do it. I don't know. Like, she had it, like, practiced.
I'm sure she does it quite often.
This is only in, like, the Western world, too. I mean, it could be totally different, like, per culture.
Are people in Russia doing uwu voices?
It could be. They could be doing something totally different.
Yeah. I don't know how I keep thinking I'm on the top screen, because I'm going to tell you what I just did right there. I was looking at your screen up until, like, we both got through the barrel. But that means I made it through the barrel by looking at you entirely.
Well,
which I think is impressive.
Sort of a weird thing happened, because I was looking at, for not as long, your screen. I think I was kind of doing the same thing, but it seemed like you were doing what I was trying to do, so I guess I didn't question it.
Yeah, you were doing what I was trying to do. We were doing the same thing for a little bit until we got out of the barrel.
Did we just play as each other?
Yeah.
Jesus control, dude.
You should tell her that.
You look really good today. Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
You sound like SpongeBob. Oh, thanks. You look really good today.
You look really good today.
You look really good today. This is about where in the timeline you see
drop down to 0%.
Yeah, like you couldn't even make it through.
I don't watch my own videos. Skycrailer, like, as a wash up.
A wash up before you even...
Yeah. He washed up before he even got out to water.
Like a baby sea turtle. I keep getting this taste in my mouth like I had Mountain Dew today, but I didn't have Mountain Dew. I mean, if I did, it was over a day ago.
Would you like something to wash it out? Like maybe a Coca-Cola or a Dr. Pepper or a Sprite?
Maybe after.
Yes, I have all three because I drink way too much soda.
How about one of those Starries? I want that shit nice and fucking cooked by your laptop. You looked at me like a fucking statue.
I had forgotten about that story. Was that?
That's the first episode.
That was the first episode.
Exploded.
That's right.
Yeah.
It fucking popped.
It's like the first thing that people hear.
If anybody didn't listen to that episode, while I was recording YouTube for, like 3 months, 2 or 3 months or something like that, it started in September.
You mean whenever you started using it? Or?
Yeah, when I started using it. I would keep a Starry soda, like the lemon lime soda, a can of it underneath my laptop to kind of prop it up because I don't have a actual PC, I just have my gaming laptop. And I like to have it elevated a little bit to be able to look at it easier, like more straight on for my vision. We'll just put that under there because it fit perfectly underneath the little crease in the back of the laptop. But the problem was, because I would be playing a game and also recording and just like doing a bunch of stuff, it would get hot because my computer would get hot. So in between recording sessions, I would have to put it in the fridge again to cool it down. Overall, it wasn't good. Maybe I was making it more like fragile and rigid.
Well, that could have gone very bad.
Mm-hmm, it could have.
Like when it happened.
Because even though I was cooling down, it was still building up pressure. I could feel it and compare it to another can of soda, and it was very stiff and like it didn't have a lot of give when you squeezed it. It
was making weird, funny noises.
Yeah, it was bowing out on every side. And the first time we were recording for this podcast, the very first episode, I got everything set up, we hit record, and I just got done doing the audio test, like listening to make sure the microphone sound good. I tossed my headphones over to just general desk area, and they bonked. They just smacked the can of Starry, and it fucking exploded all over my soundproof foam, my wall, my floor, the desk, probably my computer, but it seemed fine.
It's still fine.
Yeah. I've spilled soda inside of that computer before, and it was fine. It just dripped right
You
through.
yeah, you said there must be like some kind of a design. At least it's like a happy accident.
Yeah.
That could have like fucking taken your finger off though. Like if you touched it, then those headphones saved your life.
They did. I'm surprised that like a piece of them didn't break off. Maybe the point hit it.
Yeah.
And like popped it like a balloon.
You shaved a couple years off their lifespan.
Yeah. And maybe the headphones didn't hit it and they just exploded while I tossed them.
Maybe. It's all coincidence.
We don't know what would have happened if they kept going.
I mean, what if you just would have kept like heating it? Would it maybe there's a threshold on how exploded it would have been.
Maybe. If I let it go on its own though, do you think it would have like slowly burst a seam and then just dripped out, or would it have actually popped like that still?
I think it would have popped like that because like we don't know if the headphones made direct contact with it, but even then, like if it was gonna pop, I think it was just gonna pop.
Yeah.
Because you put like pressure on it by picking it up. Probably the same amount of pressure as using headphones.
Using headphones.
Or throwing
Tossing them on it.
Throwing headphones.
Yeah. Since then, I've never drinking a story.
Irrational fear.
But oddly, that was the last one I drank. I sipped it there. So it tastes like.
Why is nitroglycerin a natural ingredient?
Yeah.
Or to these drinks?
Arsenic. Interesting.
Arsenic. Potassium nitrate.
Chloroform.
That's why they call it a starry.
You see stars.
You see stars.
Cyanide.
You said cyanide like it was like the guest star on a sitcom.
Yeah.
When they walk in to the set.
You hear like the claps and cheers for that
Cyanide.
character walking in. Yeah, woo!
Cyanide was filmed in front of a live studio audience. Can you imagine all of like the former CIA agents that, or in like the KGB agents of the Cold War that like survived and just have to live with the cyanide tooth? Like
What's
just
the cyanide tooth?
You never heard of the cyanide tooth?
I don't believe so.
Well, it's a trope in movies too, but like agents, if they were overseas, if they were doing like espionage work, they had a fake tooth with a cyanide capsule in it.
Oh.
Like if they got caught, then they couldn't be compromised. They could just break their tooth out or crunch it or something and do what they had to do. And then sometimes it was in the brim of their glasses. I think it's mostly a spy movie thing. Like, you know, there's always like the lesser bad guy or like the goon that gets caught and it's like, you'll never get anything out of me.
Crunch.
Fucking explode.
Yeah. They accidentally filled my tooth with C4.
Can you imagine like getting through the Cold War perfectly fine and you just have that now?
I mean, can you get it removed?
I'm sure they could just like take it out, but be kind of a risk, wouldn't it?
I guess
It'd be kind of a risk having it in anyway, but like it sounds like an incredibly uncomfortable process anyway, because it's like whether or not the tooth is fake, like eventually the capsule is going to go bad, right?
Maybe.
Or rupture or something.
I don't know. You have to really take care of your teeth then.
I guess I've never been a Cold War era secret agent, but
I've never even been in a Cold War area.
me neither. I can't imagine it would be like comforting because like you go to sleep, you know, like you're licking your tooth, crunching on your teeth.
Yeah, every night. Every night I take a new one out.
They take it out and put it. It's dentures.
They have to put it back in the morning.
That's why Grandpa flips out when somebody takes his dentures because he's worried his grandkids are gonna compromise him.
Did I ever tell you how I ate a tooth once, like one of my own teeth as a kid when they were coming out?
You ate one of your teeth?
Yeah, I just fucking swallowed one because I was a dumb kid. I'll just like tell the story as it happened.
Okay.
I was at my grandparents' house and I was just hanging out in the basement. I was like watching TV while they were like upstairs watching the news or something. Just kind of hanging out, doing my own thing. And I was eating Cheez-Its. Just had the box, hand in it because they would always buy me a bunch of snacks.
Okay.
And I would just dip my fingers right in the box of Cheez-Its, deep in there, grab them from the bottom. At one point, I don't know if I realized at the time that I had a loose tooth, but at one point, one of my teeth fell out as I was eating a Cheez-It. But I didn't realize that because I guess it wasn't a tooth that I was feeling at that moment.
Yeah.
It wasn't a gap that I would have noticed right away.
Well, I don't think it really hurts when they fall out when they're meant to.
Yeah, because it kind of is healing as it's coming out.
Yeah.
So it falls out into my mouth as I'm eating Cheez-Its, and I'm just eating Cheez-Its, and I don't feel the gap. I don't feel the tooth come out. So I'm just like, what the fuck is up with this Cheez-It? Why is it so hard? And I can't even like bite through it. I guess I'll just swallow it.
It tastes the size of a Cheez-It to you? Or it feels like it's the size of a Cheez-It to you?
I was like chewing through Cheez-Its at that point.
Okay.
It's like a chunk
Just
of
a
Cheez-It
piece
or
of
something.
Cheez-It? Yeah.
And it's very oddly smooth. And I don't know what the hell is going on. I'm just going to eat it. I'm just going to swallow it. And then I swallow it, and then like 4 seconds later, I realize there's a gap in my tooth.
Oh no!
When my parents get there to pick me up, I tell them about it, and they just kind of like laugh it off because, you know, like, oh, fucking Luke ate a tooth, weird.
What a freak.
Yeah. And I was still young enough that I believed in the tooth fairy. So I was like, man, what am I going to do with this tooth? I'm not going to get a quarter for this anymore. Do I, like, when I shit it out, do I pick it out of the poop so I can put that under my pillow? I don't think tooth fairy's going to like that. I don't know if she likes tainted teeth.
Just take the loss, man.
I gotta get that quarter. So what we ended up doing was writing a note to the tooth fairy, like, sorry, I ate my tooth while thinking it was a Cheez-It.
Yeah.
Can I still get my $1 or whatever? And she did give it to me.
Nice. That's very cool.
Yeah, very nice of her.
I find the idea that children, like, teeth fall out of their mouth, like, as part of age, this is fucking horrifying. It doesn't make any sense. Like, we should just be born with the amount of teeth that we are ever going to have, and like survival of the fittest. And you're only going to live so long, you know. It's like, why would anyone care?
I only got another like 30-40 days left.
You right now? It's just horrifying. Like, can you imagine if it all happened at once? Daddy, look at me.
It's just a complete shedding of
Yeah, just being pushed out.
People have dreams of that, of their teeth falling out. I don't know if it's all at once.
I don't think it's all at once though. You have to have some kind of like condition, I think, for that to start happening.
And even then, isn't it usually a nightmare? Even if it's just like a couple of teeth falling out in the dreams?
It's usually a nightmare because it's like when you're an adult, I think kids on average do not have those dreams because it's like there's no consequence.
Yeah. They're already having it happen too.
Dude, you
it's
can
like,
literally be like a little fucking crackhead as a kid and not brush your teeth and like you'll be fine up until like fucking 13 or however long it's. I don't know. I think mine were like fully adult when I was 11.
I don't know. When do tooths go away? I don't remember when
my tooths go away. It might be different for everyone. But
my tooths was going away then.
Also, like when you look at like X-rays of children,
but before they lose any teeth,
they look like venom.
Yeah, because they're just like there's a double set of teeth in there for when they're
hiding.
Yeah,
waiting. You've seen the same caption I have, huh?
Yeah.
It's so fucking creepy. Like that just happens, and it happens to like most animals that have teeth.
There's some animals that get several sets of teeth over time, right?
Well, some animals never stop growing teeth. Like beavers, I think they get like one set of teeth, but it's a continuously growing, like, because it's like actual bone, not just enamel.
Okay, yeah.
It never stops. So they have to be a beaver. And like...
it's just going to be too big.
Yeah. It just keeps growing. They can't close their mouth. But like warthogs...
You can really see a deadbeat beaver when they get too big of teeth.
Warthogs have like tusks that will come in. They just never stop growing. So they have to like break them off in a fight, or like wear them away, or hope that they aren't the kind that get too curly. Otherwise they'll just loop right around and fucking pierce their brain. And even then, sometimes like if you break it, you can accidentally rupture like a vessel and just bleed out. I guess compared to that, yeah, I'm glad that my teeth will fall out and I'll just get new ones. But it's just fucking get the short end of the stick. There are shorter sticks, but I remember like losing teeth like as a kid, and like it'll become loose and I'll become concerned. Even though I like, you know, by the last few, I knew what was going to happen and I knew like what was happening. I was like, oh God, I don't want this to... So I would like, you know, not move it for as long as I can. I would like, you know, brush it really gently.
Huh.
Because it's like I didn't want to lose the tooth, and it would just keep happening anyway. And like, you know, you'd see new teeth grow in.
Yeah.
I'm sure we looked like fucking insane while that was happening, especially like for kids who lost multiple at once.
I mean, just look at the kid. You'll see it.
Yeah.
You think they look insane?
I mean, it's creepy, you know? Like, and I remember like when I would go to lose them, it would come down to like the last day of it, and I would see it just like I could like flick it.
It'd go 90 degrees.
Yeah, it would go 90 degrees, or like it was really loose, and I knew like if I bit into an apple or something, and I would just be like,
if I bit into a Cheez-It, it would fall right out.
Yeah, and so like anytime I would tell an adult, they're like, oh, do you want to tie it to a doorknob? Do you want to, you know, do you want me to pull it out for you?
No!
I'm like, no, what
Please,
the fuck?
God.
Don't pull out my tooth, you're insane!
It's like torture.
Even though like it didn't hurt, and it was like, it was coming out anyway.
Yeah.
But I think one of them I did braven up, and I actually tied it to a Nerf gun dart and just shot it out.
I think you told me about this before.
I just watched it like go down the end of the hall and like watch my tooth like get flagshipped across. But there was a couple times, yeah, we did try the door thing, because it's just like you try to make something fun of it.
There are people that like tie to an RC car and just race that away.
Yeah. I surrendered the whole concept of a tooth fairy away early, but like I still had fun with it.
Mm-hmm. I was never scared of losing my teeth when they were about to come out. I would always be the one that was like wiggling them, trying to get them loose, or like as early as possible. Once I felt one loose, I would like rip it out early, and start bleeding from it.
I was always worried that like I was gonna swallow it in my sleep. Like, even though I never did.
I just did while I was awake.
It never happened because I think, like, I'm not going to be, like, like, try to suck it back. But I don't like the idea. I know it's part of life. Can you imagine if, like, that happened with fingernails? Totally. I mean, they're different, but, like, you lose your baby sets and then the big ones come in.
That'd be way... Well, I guess it might not be way different, but I guess I'm thinking it would be different because I'm not used to that concept, because that's not like a real thing that we have to deal with. But underneath your fingernail is just really sensitive skin because it never gets touched by anything other than the fingernail.
Well, and like when you're born, you know it's the width of a finger at the top joint of your finger.
Yeah.
That's the big one coming in.
I just get made uncomfortable by the idea of like you lose that and then
it does
you just have to touch
the
stuff.
New one grows in.
When you grab stuff, like the skin kind of bends backward on it.
Have you ever lost a fingernail?
No, never. Not a whole one.
I mean, it doesn't feel fun when it happens, but also like it is a weird sensation because like it's wet. Like you've never accidentally busted a fingernail and like had it just slowly die.
No, I've had larger than I would like portions of my fingernail kind of be torn off because of me doing dumb stuff as a kid.
Yeah. But
never the whole thing, and not more than like a third of it.
It's only happened to me twice where I've killed my whole fingernail. They always come back stronger.
Did you hit your finger with a hammer or something?
One time it was a hammer, another time it was a lead acid battery from like a car.
Mm.
You just drop them and then like it really hurts. Like the most pain you could inflict on your fingernail is killing it. And like but it's like frostbite. Once the pain goes away is when it actually dies because you stop feeling it. And just like over like the course of a week to 3, it slowly kind of like decays, then turns purple, and then finally like you can just peel it off, the flakes off, and then the skin underneath is like exposed to air for the first time, and it's a little like wet at first, but then it dries up and it's just like you have like a flesh stick for a finger. And then eventually a new one starts coming in, and that's really weird.
Yeah, that sounds weird because it's just like growing from the lower part of your top joint.
You just have like a tiny little like slide coming in, and then it, like only by the end does it really look like a normal fingernail, but like it always comes back stronger because I think they're not used to growing like that before.
I think I found a new thing that I need to put into if I ever make some sort of horror media. I really don't like the idea of like messing with nails. Apparently. Like thumbnails and fingernails.
Uncomfortable too?
Yeah,
I don't either.
You describing that, I can feel it in my fingernails and my toenails.
I'm desensitized to it because it's happened to me. Yeah. But like, the idea of like shoving something into my fingernail does not sound fun.
Hammer nail underneath your toenail, kicking a wall.
Yeah.
Not fun.
Yeah, I can imagine it. It doesn't sound pleasant. It doesn't sound horrible. All it would do is like kick your nail and like you would get stabbed would be the worst thing. It's not gonna like go into your bone. I don't think you're that strong. Like, if anything, it would find the weakest path and just punch you in the skin.
Yeah. Still suck.
It would still suck.
Sounds bad.
But then
don't want it.
The only thing that would happen is, like, your nail would have to grow back. Do you know what, like, an ingrown toenail? It's actually, that one, to me, is worse than, like, you know, say you have to fucking grow a new fingernail.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a thing that, like, it happens slowly over time, and you have to modify it to get it to grow back normally, or like not do that every time, because some people's nails are kind of like a parabola shape instead of a just like a regular like kind of shovel shape that comes in, and like the flatness on the sides pushes down the platform on which your nail grows in, and it just kind of like starts wrapping around the top side of your nail like a shell.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to get those sides cut off. And sometimes you have to get like part of your skin cut too, so it won't support growing them, unless you want to like, you know, have it like pierce through your skin. It's kind of like the warthog thing. It's fucking sounds horrible. I'm really glad I've never had to worry about that, because some people like do, and like they have to go in and get their hangnail cut like once a year.
Now that you say that, I did have that once when I was pretty young. I was young enough to not ask for help about it, apparently, because I just decided to deal with it on my own.
Really?
I think this is one of the things I was thinking about of like getting a nail more than I would like to remove.
It also creates a gap in it.
Yeah. It wasn't my fingernail, it was this toenail. It was on my big toe. I think it was on the right.
Yeah.
As I think about it, my right one twitches more, so I think it was probably that one. I remember it got to a certain point that it was infected and like inflating with pus.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can feel what it is, because when I walk, I can feel like the nail poking down into my skin.
Because it's like horseshoed, sort of.
Yeah. So one day I just decided to deal with it. I got some nail clippers and some tweezers and just dug into my toe and got a portion of it cut out and then just like wrapped it up and let it heal.
Ugh.
I was the kind of kid and also teenager to just kind of like fix my problems on my own without like going to the emergency room for some things or like asking my parents for help or anything. I would just do it. And
yeah, but if you fuck it up, then you have to deal with the consequences by yourself too.
It could have gotten way worse infected.
I guess you did it, and there's nothing that can be done about it now. But like, and maybe in that position, if I was forced to, I would too. But not out of my own volition. I would try to find like the most rational thing to do first. I think there's a transitive cringe that comes with others describing pain, because that bothers me more than like the idea of like having my nail completely destroyed and killed and then like having to grow a new one.
Yeah, it's probably what you're saying. Like you're desensitized to the one you experienced. You describing that was way worse for me than me thinking back on my own thing.
And to me, it was like, because yeah, it really hurt like when I smashed it, but you don't feel anything afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Like if somebody, you know, the whole like mob thing or the mafia like torture trope, like in movies where they like peel off your toenails and your fingernails.
I know about
like
the idea
like where they
of that,
take I think it's happened in like a couple of Resident Evil games or something. Like they'll take pliers and do it, but it doesn't sound that terrible to me. Yeah, I would feel exactly probably the pain that like came with smashing my thumb and finger nail, but like I've been through that before. It doesn't, I mean, it's not pleasant, but it's not the worst thing that can happen.
I feel like that would be a thing that it really hurts in the moment, because like, yeah, that would really hurt. But the things that get me about torture concepts are the ones that feel like they would last longer.
Yeah.
Or like the effects of it would last longer.
Well, I think the whole concept, I mean, no, granted, as long as we're not talking about like Saw level torture, I think the concept is like much worse in your head until you've experienced it, because afterwards and you know what you're in for, it doesn't sound so bad. Like I'm not even reacting to the thought of like, you know, having my nail peeled off, because it's not pleasant, but it's not that bad. However, like having a hangnail, I don't know what I would do. I think I would smash it. It's the only thing I know how to do.
Well, next Saturday, look for a video where we rip off our toenails, so that we can experience it, and then we can show you what it's like.
Channel.
Throw a bunch of eggs at it.
Yeah. Ah!
Piss in the toilet, piss on our toes. Does he still make videos?
I don't know.
And are they still like that? They would have to still be like that.
I mean, how much content can you really milk out of this one thing?
I think a lot.
You seen one, you seen them all.
I watched a lot when I was in middle school. That was top comedy for me.
It was pretty funny, but I haven't thought about it in a long time.
Can't harsh him. I feel like I think about him like once every 2 years. On average. Comes back.
You must relate to him a little. The thing that does get me, it's like the whole like little sibling thing where they, you know, they try desperately to make you laugh just by like being a little fucking goober, is when he starts like slapping his leg. Yeah, it's just, he doesn't stop, I think, until he gets a reaction.
Or at least he thinks he got a reaction.
He thinks he's get a reaction. Because like, if you can tolerate the screaming and the egg throwing long enough, then like, it's like, I don't know, how much more can you expect? A little thumbs up at the end. He was like kind of vintage at this point. He's like up there with like Annoying Orange.
Yeah. I mean, how many years ago is that? At least like from when I was watching it, it's been like
10 years, I would imagine. Do you think you would ever like go back to your elementary school to do like a talk thing, or like a, you know, like a volunteer thing? I don't know how many people actually do that, but it just seems like an interesting concept. I don't know how much schools have changed. Like, I don't even know what I would talk about if I were to go back.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, if I'm doing a talk, I need to know what the hell I'm talking about before I make that decision.
But there was also, like, there was plenty of people when I was in elementary school that did, like, come back and, like, they, you know, they would go back and talk about their experience. And
yeah, or there's, like, help out with an activity.
Yeah, and they seem so much older back then, and they were probably like in high school.
Yeah. That might just be a perspective thing. Like, we see scruff of a beard, and we're like, oh my god, you're old! And then we get to high school, and we like have a scruff of a beard.
I had a fucking third eyebrow on my upper lip by the time I was in like 11th grade.
Yeah.
I say 11th grade because it makes me sound that much younger than my junior year. I sure am like a lot of other boys who were teenagers that like they had a weird facial hair pattern starting out. I used to only be able to grow like some hair under my bottom lip and some hair on top of my top lip. And it was like a pencil stash, and it just slowly changed into like a full mustache. It's so weird how it changes the look of your face and like the feeling of it. And because it was like, it started out as like baby hairs and then like was blonde and then turned red as it like became like full-fledged.
Kind of how top of the head hair does.
There's a more radical change with facial hair. Like, it becomes very coarse once it grows fully. The direction that it goes, like, there's grain to it. The hair on my the top of my head hasn't really changed much, except for, like, it's become more red as the years have gone by. Now I have, like, a full-ass beard. That would look really weird to me.
I'm actually waiting for my ass beard to come in.
Your ass beard?
I got a good start. A couple more years, I think, and get a full one.
Just thread it through your pant leg and tie it around your leg.
It looks like I have a tail. It's not a tail.
That's the only hair you get with age. Can you imagine if like losing your teeth was like a once per decade, like as you get older thing?
I think we'd think less weird of it.
I mean, we'd be desensitized to it, but also like, I think it would be that much more inconvenient because people's like bone structure and their face changes as they get older, and like that's a lot of teeth to store.
Yeah.
They'd have to like generate instead of like just be ready.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Would it be they grow into it, or would it be just several layers of baby teeth? Well, or I guess regular teeth.
Teeth would fundamentally have to change. Like they couldn't just be enamel if they were gonna like generate into existence from like calcium.
We'd be beavers.
They'd have to be ready to go.
If it's new teeth and not just like
because teeth aren't like bone. I guess they're bone, but like it's enamel. You'd have to have like all the sets. I guess that's how you could tell how long you were going to live, roughly. That would be kind of creepy, actually. The amount of teeth that you have per rows, or columns, I guess. You could tell roughly how long you were going to live.
Or like how long your body expected to live.
Well, can you imagine if you only had like 4 teeth? Or four sets of teeth?
Yeah, assuming it changed every 10 years.
Yeah, roughly.
Well,
could be like every 7.
Would that actually determine how long you live? That would just like mean, okay, after 40, I won't have teeth anymore.
Well, yeah, how many teeth you get, but like also, what happens if you don't have any teeth anymore past 40? Like, you could get fake teeth, but isn't that kind of a teller of like how your health is, or like how your cellular health is going to be for the rest of your life?
Maybe, because I guess if your just born body doesn't even have the ability to do well for itself in that right, then maybe it's lacking other rights as well.
Well, like for the rest of your life, you're going to have to like chew more, just like little things, I guess most people would like just rather not know. And it's like, leave it up to their dentist. Can you imagine fucking 10 sets of teeth, though? Having to store that shit? Everyone's teeth would be crooked. And, like, there would be, like, $1 million industry in dentistry. Like, there already isn't, but...
Yeah, it's more than $1 million.
Being a dentist would be a really lucrative career.
Well, would it be a lucrative career to be in dentistry? Or would dentistry turn into the new, like, fast food career? Because if it's something that everybody's trying to get into right away, maybe it'd be like a low wage, but it's easy to get into, and then it becomes like a lower quality thing.
Like on the very top, like it's a hierarchy. Like, if you're like a senior dentist, you're doing great.
Yeah.
But like there's a lot, like you could fucking intern, because like what's the loss? People have like 100 teeth total.
Yeah, if you mess up, then whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess like it would be a really common career. And I guess in that universe, that would be like, can you imagine if we had like 200 sets of teeth? How fucked up that would be?
Dude, the teeth would be covering my eyes.
Dude,
There'd be so many.
We only ever had 2 sets of teeth in our entire life, and that's all we got.
Be fucking stupid, man.
Yeah, like...
What do we do?
You lose one, that's it. You got to get it fucking surgically. Can you imagine how fucking insanely prestigious the dentistry industry must be?
You'd have to like brush your teeth.
You'd have to brush your teeth.
You wouldn't be able to eat candy every day.
Yeah. If you don't correct that behavior as a whoops.
Wait, you actually hit quit?
I meant quit as in to go back out of the quit menu. Well, fucking...
We're at 1 hour 35 already anyway.
Okay.
I guess we're good.
Wait, we were we started right away though. Like, how did it take us so long? Maybe we sat around and
We didn't sit around at the beginning, but we were taking more time in between races. I think usually when I'm first player, I like click through right away, but we were kind of like having a conversation before we started the next race.
farting around a little.
Yeah.
Teeth.
Goodbye. See you next Monday.